Management Accounting C370. In this video, we will be looking at Unit 1 Management Accounting Context and Performance Measurement with respect to the analysis of the balanced scorecard approach based on Norekklit 2000's article. Norekklit 2000 with the topic of the balance on the balanced scorecard, a critical analysis of some of its assumptions. The key things that they considered were, first of all, the assumptions of the balanced scorecard. When it comes to the assumptions of the balanced scorecard, it was based on Porter's concept of strategy, which says that the essence of formulating a competitive strategy lies in relating a company to the competitive forces in the industry in which it competes. And also, it assumes that strategy has to be based on the market segments to be served, and then be followed by the identification of the internal business processes which the firm needs to excel in if it is to deliver on its value propositions to the customers in the market segments targeted. So the competitive strategy of a firm should be driven by its environment. That is what it assumes basically. Also, it assumes goal congruence in organizations, and top management defines congruent goals. And another key assumption is the causal relationship between the measures used in this balanced scorecard. However, there are various criticisms against these assumptions. Mainly, the validity of the model depends on the assumption that the cause-effect relationship exists between the area of measurement suggested. However, the cause-effect relationship itself has been criticized. That is, according to Norekklit et al., because numerous factors may influence the result, it may be difficult to determine when the financial effect of an action will occur or what the impact of the effect will be. And also, measuring the effect of an action related to new and complex activities is particularly problematic, since it's difficult or impossible to establish performance measures for activities with which the organization has no or very little experience. Therefore, measuring effects is particularly difficult in companies which constantly have to adapt to new situations and in which innovation is important to their competitiveness. Also, the relationship between measures on the balanced scorecard is ambiguously described. That is, on one hand, the authors claim for causality, that is, a financial result occurs if a given cause exists, and on the other hand, their description involves arguments and concepts which show that actions have to be assessed on the basis of financial reasoning. Also, the relationship between the areas is more likely to be one of interdependence rather than a causal relationship, and the cause and effect relationship could be reversed if the firms choose a view of strategy which builds on their core competencies instead of being based on the Porter's view of strategy. So those are the key arguments against the assumptions of the balanced scorecard approach. Next, Norekklit looks at how the balanced scorecard is different to other approaches. Actually, the crux of the balanced scorecard is the linking together of the measures of the four areas in a causal chain which passes through all the four perspectives: that's financial, customer, internal business process, and learning and growth. And because of measures of learning and growth, they are the drivers of the measures of the internal business processes, which in turn are the drivers of the measures of the customer perspective, in turn which drives the financial measures. And each strategic area will have both lead and lag indicators, yielding two directional cause-effect relationships. Also, strategy is translated into a set of hypotheses about cause and effect. That is, the causal paths from measure indicators on the scorecard are linked to financial objectives. And also, the balanced scorecard is unique because it's not just a strategic measurement system, but it's also a strategic control system which may be used to clarify and gain consensus about strategy. Also, it may be used to align departmental and personal goals to strategy, to link strategic objectives to long-term targets and annual budgets, to identify and align strategic initiatives, and also to obtain feedback to learn about and improve strategy. Next, considering about whether time lag is present in the balance scorecard, and if that is the case, why is this time dimension an issue? Actually, there's no such time lag in the balance scorecard because it measures cause and effect relationships at the same time without considering any time lag. In other words, there is no time dimension according to Norekklit. Actually, it's true that Kaplan and Norton 1996 state that the strategic objectives have to be broken down into budgetary targets to be reached over time and to be followed up on. But still, it's a static section which does not solve the time lag problem. And the effect of the measures will occur at different points of time because the effects of the different areas involve different time scales. So that's the key problem here. And the next key question which Norekklit looks at is whether the measures on the balance scorecard are linked. Actually, yes, they are linked. That is because measures of learning and growth are drivers of measures of internal business process, which in turn are drivers of measures of the customer perspective and which drives the financial measures. Considering about the empirical evidence, according to Richeld and Sasser 1990, a causal relationship exists between customer loyalty and profitability based on 4 case studies which showed how much profit a customer generates over time and why loyal customers are profitable. But this study did not provide information showing how strong the trend is and whether it holds for all customers and firms. And also, Buzel and Gale 1987 supported this balance scorecard approach by pointing out that there is a relationship between a high level of customer satisfaction and return. On the other hand, Kaplan and Norton 1996 points out that cause-effect relationships among the measures from the 4 perspectives is problematic. That's because accounting models can be logically but not empirically proved or rejected. So the accuracy of financial results cannot be proved through empirical observations, and the relationship between 2 phenomena cannot be both logical and causal. So the management should know the relationship among events because this determines whether the effect of an action will have to be assessed on the basis of financial calculus. And also, the causality between quality and financial results has been rejected on an empirical basis, which has been confirmed by Itner and Lacker 1998. Moreover, from a neoclassical perspective, the relationship between customer satisfaction and financial results is a logical one, and we cannot consider it as a cause-effect relationship. Also, this is supported by the statistical view, which says that we cannot conclude from covariation that there is a causal relationship. Considering on how the balance scorecard relates to stakeholders and the organization's external environment, Atkinson et al. 1997 points out that the reason why the scorecard redefines vision and strategy as measures from the 4 perspectives is an implicit wish to balance the company's activities with its stakeholders. But not all stakeholders have been included. Some of the excluded ones are suppliers, public authorities, institutional stakeholders, etc. And also, it doesn't monitor the competition or technological developments. And the model doesn't take into consideration any strategic uncertainty in terms of the risk involved in events which may threaten or invalidate present strategy. So, based on that, the scorecard takes strategic momentum control into consideration, but not strategic lead control. Then, considering about how the balance scorecard relates to managers and employees, Olive et al. 1997 points out that the management needs to contribute resources and the project needs to be rooted in the organization if the scorecard is to be successfully implemented. Yet, the managerial routing may pose problems. Such routing requires the scorecard to fit the concepts and relationships which the management use when the company formulates its strategy and vision. So it has to be part of the management's language. That is, any unilateral technical solution may mean that relevance is lost. Therefore, it may be difficult to get the scorecard rooted in the management, and also it's difficult to get the scorecard rooted in the employees because the balanced scorecard will be implemented hierarchical and top to down, and therefore the balanced scorecard will primarily create external commitment. Whereas Moritzen et al. 1995 points out that local conditions have been defined by the top management and local units cannot act on their own when balanced scorecard is used, because they assume that they are dumb and they react rather than act. Whereas Argyris and Kaplan 1994 argues that in order to make employees act instead of reacting, it's important to be in touch with their internal commitment and not just their external commitment. And that external commitment is important for the establishment of organizational rules and for communicating the kind of behavior that is desirable and will be rewarded. And this is insufficient if they wish to have individuals who are active and creative problem solvers. Furthermore, Johnson 1998 points out that the scorecard needs to be rooted in the language of employees. In general, when it comes to the problems of the balanced scorecard, according to Collier 2015, Kaplan and Norton point out that at top management level, 3 or 4 performance measures for each perspective should be sufficient, as any more than that becomes difficult to monitor and issues can subsequently arise about the relative importance of some performance measures over others. And the organizational level performance measurement approach needed to cascade down through each layer of the organization to business units and ultimately to each employee, so that everyone's goals will be linked hierarchically to achieving the organizational goals. Also, it's risky to assume that a change in one measure will have a cause-effect change on another measure. Also, one of the difficulties in setting objectives and performance measures in this approach is the accuracy of the predictive model used by the organization. Furthermore, the cause and effect assumptions need to be more simplistic in order to overcome real-life complexity. So, therefore, it's problematic whether improved non-financial performance leads to improved financial performance. So these are the key drawbacks of the balanced scorecard approach. In our next video, we'll be looking at another non-financial performance measurement system, which is the performance prism.